Lagos, 2 a.m. In the empty streets of Obiri, Glory ran. Her satchel bounced against her side. Every shadow made her jump. 5 years of abuse, 5 years of hunger and fear, all pressing down on her chest. Her father's voice still rang in her ears. Then take her. She's useless anyway. Ahead, the rickety bus waited. A fragile promise of escape. Harrison stood nearby, silent, calm, watching. Glory hesitated. His eyes weren't ordinary, not just a farmhand. Something in him was hidden. A secret he'd carried for years. A secret that could change everything she believed about men, trust, and destiny. She swallowed hard. Could she risk it? But before I tell you what Harrison was hiding, do me a favor. If you love African stories full of suspense, drama, and inspiration, hit that subscribe button. I make these every week. You don't want to miss what happens next. Now let's go back. 5 years ago, the dusty village of Amiri. Where it all began. 5 years ago, in the dusty village of Amiri, red sand painted every footpath and hunger whispered through the homes. A young girl named Glory moved silently through the sun-baked streets. Only 22, but her eyes already carrying the weight of 100 lifetimes. For her mother had died 5 years prior, and her father, once kind but now a cruel drunkard, had married Mrs. Grace. A woman whose hatred for Glory was as deep as the sun was hot, forcing her to cook, fetch firewood, sweep the compound, tend the farm from dawn till dusk, and sleep without food. Every villager pitying her, but no one daring to speak against Mr. Thomas's madness. Until Harrison arrived, a young man from the city, his clothes old, shoes riddled with holes, but eyes sharp and unwavering, who had been working on the farm for 3 months clearing bushes, planting cassava, carrying heavy loads under the burning sun, yet never receiving the promised pay, each day being told, next week, come tomorrow, I'll pay. You and I sell something. And on a particularly hot afternoon, Harrison, exhausted and frustrated, approached Mr. Thomas and asked for his due, only for his eyes to fall upon Glory, broom in hand, her small frame shaking under the weight of fatigue, and Mr. Thomas, laughing wickedly, pointed at her, saying, well, take that girl instead, leaving Harrison dumbfounded as he realized he was being offered Glory in exchange for the money owed to him. Her heart breaking instantly as she dropped the broom and fell to her knees, tears streaming, pleading, Daddy, please, no. But his voice thundered over her, shut up. You should be happy someone wants you. And Mrs. Grace, folding her arms with a cruel smile, nodded. Good, let her go. One less mouth to feed. While Harrison stared at her, taken aback, yet beneath the sorrow and exhaustion, something about her, her spirit, quiet yet unbroken, stirred a strange warmth in him. She's beautiful, he murmured, almost to himself, and when Mr. Thomas asked, Harrison simply replied, I'll take her, sealing Glory's fate as she packed her few belongings into a black plastic bag. Her little half-brother Sam standing behind the house, crying silently, waving goodbye to a sister who had been everything to him, yet leaving under a sky heavy with dust and sorrow. As the bus carried them toward the city, passing towns, dusty roads, and clusters of trees, Glory staring out the window, unsure of what awaited, praying silently for safety and kindness. Lord, please don't let this man be like my father. Please give me peace. While Harrison sat quietly, eyes fixed ahead, glancing at her now and then, sighing softly as he noted her fragility, until they reached the city, towering buildings rising around them, lights reflecting off wet pavement, people rushing past in a blur, the noise overwhelming, the pace unrelenting, and Harrison led her to a small tricycle that took them to a quiet street ending at a large black gate, which opened slowly to reveal a wide, immaculate compound, the main house. White and elegant, flowers lining the walkways, a fountain bubbling gently in the corner, before taking her past it to a small, neat building at the back. 1 bedroom, a sitting room, a small kitchen, a bathroom, the boys' quarters, where Harrison explained it was his home, a place Mrs. Walker, the owner of the house, had kindly given him to stay for free while he worked as a security guard. The thought of peace washing over Glory as she stepped inside, clean sheets, locked doors, a roof that didn't leak, a stark contrast to the kitchen mat she once slept on, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to smile, whispering softly, "If this is God's plan, so be it." As Harrison asked if she was okay and she nodded, heart slightly lighter. The following days blended into gentle routines, waking to the scent of breakfast, stepping into a kitchen where Harrison cooked with quiet care, learning the layout of the compound, tidying the small quarters, each task bringing confidence she had long been denied, until one morning Harrison told her to dress neatly, for he wanted her to meet someone. And Glory, heart racing, put on a soft gown he had bought, brushed her hair, following him down the flower-lined path to the main house where Mrs. Walker, warm and elegant, greeted her, inviting her in, shaking her hand gently. "You're welcome, Glory. I like you already. You have a sweet spirit." And for Glory, stepping into that shiny living room, smelling polished wood and fresh flowers, hearing kind words after years of cruelty, her chest tightened, disbelief and hope mingling, as Harrison explained that Mrs. Walker lived with her only son, and Glory could stay here as long as she kept the compound safe, peace finally entering her chest, a fragile but real calm she hadn't known in years. In the evenings, as she tidied her quarters, her mind replayed the horrors she'd escaped, the cruelty of her father, the laughter of her stepmother, and yet Harrison's presence, gentle, protective, non-demanding, allowed her to slowly breathe again. And one night, seated on the edge of the bed, she confessed to him her fears, the disbelief that someone could be kind, that someone could treat her as if she mattered, tears spilling as she told him how hopeless she had felt when her father had given her away, like a piece of trash. And Harrison, sitting beside her, took her hands, looking into her eyes, explaining that he had liked her from the very first day he saw her, that he had wanted to protect her all along, that he would never hurt her, that love, respect, and trust came first. And slowly, through quiet words, gentle encouragement, and steady companionship, a bond began to form between them, a trust deeper than any Glory had known, her heart tentatively opening even as she feared it. The city around them bustling and chaotic, yet within the walls of the boys' quarters, a fragile sanctuary formed. And as the days turned into weeks, Glory found herself cooking, cleaning, laughing lightly for the first time in years, and even as she learned the rhythms of her new life, whispers of ambition grew inside her, dreams of going to school, learning, building a future she had once believed impossible, while Harrison's quiet support never wavered, guiding her without controlling, teaching her that her worth was never in doubt, that she was not useless, that she could rise from the ashes of her past into something beautiful. And though the road ahead promised trials, temptation, and the shadows of those who wished to exploit her innocence, Glory felt for the first time a spark of hope, a sense that perhaps life had more to offer than pain, and that step by step, she might reclaim her destiny, with Harrison at her side, a man whose secret strength promised protection, whose quiet devotion offered peace, and whose presence was slowly rewriting the story of a girl who had once been told she was useless, into one where she could finally matter, breathe, and dream again. Weeks passed in the city, and Glory's life began to bloom in ways she never imagined. Yet beneath the calm surface, ripples of tension whispered through the compound. For while she cooked, cleaned, and learned the rhythms of peace, Mrs. Walker's only son, Daniel, a tall, handsome young man with a sharp gaze that seemed to measure everything, had begun watching her from the shadows, his presence quiet but insistent, until one sunny afternoon, he stepped into the kitchen, leaning casually against the doorway, complimenting her work with a confidence that made Glory uneasy. "You know, I've been watching you cook, and I must say, you're extraordinary," he said, voice smooth yet carrying a dangerous charm, and Glory, startled, greeted him politely. "Good afternoon, sir," but he waved her words away, stepping closer, commenting on her beauty, the way her hands moved, the focus in her eyes, the humility in her spirit. And though his words seemed innocent, something in his tone carried a subtle claim, an invisible weight that pressed on her chest, reminding her of all the men who had tried to take advantage of her in the past. Yet Harrison, unaware at first, trusted the young man as his mother's son, someone who should have known better. And for days, Daniel returned, sometimes interrupting her cooking with, Questions, compliments, suggestions, all framed as helpfulness but tinged with a desire for her attention. Until one evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, Glory returned to the boys' quarters, heart heavy with unease, only to find Harrison sitting outside, eyes searching hers, sensing something had shifted, and she confessed quietly, "Harrison, it's Daniel. He keeps coming, saying things that make me uncomfortable, promising me things, gifts, even schooling abroad, if I agree to be with him instead." And Harrison's jaw tightened, fists curling at his sides, yet his voice remained calm, measured. "Did you tell him anything?" he asked, and Glory shook her head. "I told him no. I told him I am loyal to you, to what we are building, to my dreams, and that I am not interested in anyone else." And Harrison, still tense, reached for her hands, squeezing gently. "You did exactly right. He can't buy your heart, and he can't change who you are. You're safe with me." But even as they spoke, the shadows of temptation and danger lurked in the corners of the compound. For Daniel was clever, persistent, and used the comforts of the house and the kindness of Mrs. Walker as camouflage for his intent, planting seeds of doubt and distraction while Glory worked tirelessly, cooking for Mrs. Walker, organizing the kitchen, learning new recipes, and dreaming of one day going to university. And then one morning, a new layer of pressure arrived when Mrs. Walker, noticing Glory's skill and poise, gently suggested that Glory could take over the main cook's position permanently, that she could have stability, regular pay, and opportunities she had never known. And Glory's heart swelled with gratitude. Yet the words of Daniel and the creeping awareness of how easily some people equated her obedience with weakness stirred something else. Resolve, a fierce clarity of who she was and what she would never compromise. For though the offers were tempting, her loyalty to Harrison and her understanding that true love and respect could not be bought burned hotter than the promise of wealth. And that evening, as Harrison and Glory sat together in the quiet of the boys' quarters, discussing plans for her schooling and the possibility of starting a small catering venture of her own, Glory felt a surge of courage, realizing that she could step into the life she deserved without succumbing to pressure, without allowing anyone to dictate her heart. While outside, the city hummed with opportunity and danger alike. And standing firm, and as the weeks melted into months, Harrison remained her anchor, guiding without controlling, loving without demanding, and supporting her in every way, teaching her that partnership was built on trust and respect, and that the right man would never coerce, manipulate, or belittle. And so even as Daniel escalated his efforts, attempting to sway her with promises, gifts, and words designed to tempt, Glory's resolve hardened, a fiery shield forged from years of suffering and tempered by the kindness she had finally found. And in those long, silent nights, as the city slept and the wind whispered through the compound, she dreamed not just of freedom, but of triumph, of education, of a life where she could stand proud and unshaken, her heart aligned with Harrison's, their goals intertwined, their loyalty mutual, a partnership of equals. And though challenges remained, including the lingering threat of Daniel's schemes and the ever-present tension of living under someone else's roof, Glory felt an unshakable certainty. She would not compromise her integrity. She would not abandon the man who had shown her real love, and step by step, day by day, she would transform the life of the girl who had once been told she was useless anyway into a life filled with dignity, opportunity, and hope. And in that realization, as she stirred pots, organized spices, and planned her lessons, a quiet smile formed on her lips, the first real smile in years, a smile that carried with it the promise of victories yet unseen, the kind that come not from wealth or manipulation, but from courage, faith, and the kind of love that had been patiently waiting for her all along. Months passed, and the city that had once seemed so alien to Glory now felt like the first place she had ever truly belonged, where her hands could create, her mind could learn, and her heart could breathe. Yet even in the warmth of Harrison's unwavering love and the growing respect she had earned from Mrs. Walker, shadows lingered. Daniel's quiet persistence, whispers in the compound, the occasional glance that spoke of desire and entitlement, all testing the strength of Glory's resolve. But each morning, As she woke to the soft sunlight streaming into the boys' quarters, Harrison by her side, she reminded herself of the promise she had made to the girl who once ran barefoot through the dusty village of Amiri. Never to compromise, never to surrender, never to let anyone treat her as disposable. And it was that courage, that determination, that led her to seize an opportunity that would change everything. A prestigious scholarship opened at the city's leading university, one that would allow her to study full-time while continuing her work in the Walker household, a chance she could not let slip away. So she prepared, submitted her application, and waited with a mixture of fear and hope, each day stretching longer than the last, until one evening, Harrison returned home, eyes glinting with a mix of pride and mischief, holding an envelope that made her heart skip. "You got it," he said softly. "The scholarship, it's yours." And in that moment, all the sacrifices, the tears, the nights of uncertainty, felt worth it, and Glory, overwhelmed, clutched the envelope and fell into Harrison's arms, whispering through tears of joy that she could finally achieve the dream she had buried deep inside her soul. And yet life, as always, had more tests in store. Daniel, sensing that his subtle attempts to sway her had failed, escalated, bringing influence, charm, and money into the game, attempting to intimidate Harrison, to manipulate Mrs. Walker, even to make Glory doubt her decisions. But she stood firm, facing him with eyes that no longer trembled, a voice that no longer wavered, and a spirit that refused to bow. And in one defining confrontation in the Walker estate's grand hall, Daniel, frustrated and desperate, tried one final tactic, offering Glory luxury, travel, the world at her feet if she would only leave Harrison and agree to be with him. But she looked at him, calm yet fierce, and said, "I am not for sale, Daniel. I am not a prize, and I choose Harrison, the man who saw me, the man who trusted me, the man who loved me when no one else did." And the words echoed, resonating through the marble corridors, leaving Daniel silent, his schemes laid bare, powerless against the strength of a woman who had learned to honor herself. And as the weeks turned into months, Glory's scholarship began, her mind absorbing knowledge with a hunger that matched the one she had once carried for survival in the dusty village. Her days filled with lectures, libraries, experiments, and her nights still rooted in the small, safe quarters Harrison had secured, where they planned their future together, dreams intertwining like threads in a tapestry, from a small catering venture that grew steadily into a thriving business, to the careful saving for the life they wanted to build. And in the midst of all this, Harrison revealed his own secret, a truth he had kept even from Glory for months. His family, wealthy beyond measure, had sent him to live simply, to test character and resilience, to understand loyalty and love in its purest form. And when Glory learned that the man she had chosen, the man she had stood by through tears, uncertainty, and threats, was not just kind and brave but a man of power and vision, she did not feel surprised or diminished. Instead, she felt vindicated, strong, and proud that she had seen his worth beyond wealth, beyond status, beyond appearances. And in that revelation, they laughed, cried, and embraced, knowing that their bond was forged not in comfort or privilege, but in trials, honesty, and mutual respect. And as the city lights shimmered outside their small quarters, painting golden paths across the walls, Glory finally allowed herself to dream freely, imagining a life where her family's shame and abuse no longer defined her, where she could bring her little half-brother Sam to visit, share her successes, and teach him resilience and hope. And in those dreams, Harrison was always there, steady, supportive, loving, and unyielding. And then came the day that would seal the final chapter of the past. Her father called, voice trembling and humbled, asking for forgiveness, begging for recognition of the woman she had become. And Glory, holding back memories of pain and anger, answered calmly but firmly, "I forgive you, Father, but I will never allow you into my life to bring chaos. I have peace now, and I will protect it." And she hung up, leaving behind the echoes of abuse, leaving behind the dusty village of Amiri, leaving behind the chains of fear and rejection, stepping fully into a life she had fought to claim, one built on love, respect, and achievement. And months later, at her graduation, dressed in white, Walking across the stage to receive her degree, Harrison was there in the front row, eyes bright, applause loud, standing taller than anyone else, shouting her name, calling her his queen. And when she turned to him, she felt the full weight of the journey, from tears to triumph, from hopelessness to opportunity, from being called useless to becoming someone unstoppable, someone worthy, someone fully herself. And as they hugged, laughter and tears mingling, she realized that her life was no longer defined by those who had tried to diminish her, no longer shaped by fear, no longer measured by the limits others imposed, but by the courage she had nurtured, the love she had embraced, the knowledge she had gained, and the dreams she now had the power to pursue. And in the quiet moments that followed, Harrison whispered, "We did it, my queen." Together, and Glory, looking at him, at their shared future, at the life they had built from nothing but resilience, love, and faith, smiled through tears, her heart full, and whispered back, "Yes, together." And in that affirmation, the story of a girl once told she was useless, abandoned, and unwanted transformed into the story